Welcome back to the deep dive. So you brought us a source today that, I have to say, looks deceptively simple.
It does. It looks like just a list of instructions.
Right, it's a set of instructions for building an educational tool.
Mm.
But we're going to treat this a little differently, not as a recipe, but more like a masterpiece of instructional design.
Mm-hmm.
Our mission today is to take this source material, numerical foundations, English counting from 1 to 20, and really use it as a blueprint. We aren't here to, learn the numbers.
No, not at all.
We are here to understand the why behind these deliberate, almost surgical choices that are embedded in the requirements.
That's it.
Why these specific time limits, why this number range. We're essentially reverse engineering the logic behind truly efficient foundational learning.
Precisely. And if you're someone who values gaining knowledge quickly but also thoroughly, which we know you are, then understanding how effective material is constructed is just, well, it's key. Our source lays out these non-negotiable constraints for a video designed to ensure foundational mastery of numbers 1 through 20. We're really analyzing the pedagogical geometry of it all.
The pedagogical geometry.
Yeah, the minimum possible elements you need for maximum retention.
Okay, let's start with the scope then, because that feels like the first and maybe the most defining constraint.
Right.
The source is crystal clear. The instruction has to cover numbers from 1 to 20. So why is that range the magic number for a numerical foundation in English? Why not just stop at 10?
That boundary at 20 is not arbitrary at all. It's a critical linguistic and conceptual watershed.
Okay, a watershed. Break that down for us.
Well, the first segment, 1 through 10, that's relatively straightforward.
Right, that's the basics.
It establishes the core concept of counting, the fundamental vocabulary. It teaches the learner that we use a base 10 system.
But then comes 11 to 20.
Yes. And that is where the English language decides to be, well, unnecessarily difficult. It's the linguistic gauntlet you have to run before everything becomes predictable again.
Unnecessarily difficult.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that complexity. What makes 11 through 20 so unique compared to, say, 21 through 30?
So when you hit 11 and 12, you're dealing with linguistic fossils.
Fossils.
Yeah. The words 11 and 12 are relics from older Germanic systems. They roughly translate to 1 leftover and 2 leftover after counting a base set. They don't follow the logic we use later.
Like 21 or 32.
Exactly. They are completely unique vocabulary items you just have to memorize.
Okay.
Then you get to the teen numbers. And while they use that teen suffix, the construction is often irregular.
For instance.
Well, 13 isn't 3-teen. 15 changes the base word entirely from 5. So this range forces the learner to confront the biggest exceptions to the rule right at the beginning.
So the designers of this curriculum, they're basically saying, master the hardest, most irregular, most confusing linguistic part of the sequence first.
That's it. Front load the difficulty.
And what risk are we mitigating by doing that? Why not just let the learner pick up those weird exceptions later on?
You're mitigating the risk of structural confusion down the line. If a learner masters 1 to 20, they have secured the foundational pattern, even with all its exceptions.
Right.
So when they move to 20, 30, 40, those numbers follow a really simple, repeatable rule. It's just the decade name plus the number 1 through 9.
And if you don't get 1 through 20 down first,
then the learner is always playing catch-up. They're trying to figure out why the rule works for 21, but then completely breaks for 11 and 12.
Yeah.
So mastery of 1 to 20 is, well, it's the prerequisite for numerical scalability.
That is a fascinating insight. It's not just about covering the material, it's about covering the most complex material first to build resilience, which connects directly to the next constraint in the source, the format. It demands this knowledge be delivered in a video, specifically a 60-second video.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Let's start with the time limit. A 60-second mandate for 20 separate concepts. That seems like brutal efficiency. If the goal is thoroughness, doesn't that risk being too fast? Overwhelming for a beginner.
That's the paradox, isn't it? That the strict 60-second limit doesn't risk being too fast. It demands maximum focus.
How so?
It forces the instructional designer to strip away absolutely any element that doesn't contribute directly to retention. There's just no time for, long introductions or distracting animations.
It's a filter.
The time constraint acts as a clarity filter, exactly. If you cannot distill the core auditory and visual elements of 20 numbers into a tight 60-second loop, your material is bloated. It's about respecting the learner's time and maximizing the impact of the input.
It's the ultimate test of distillation, really. If you can't get the core message across in 60 seconds, you haven't truly understood what the learner absolutely needs to know.
And that leads right to the format choice itself. The video, this isn't just an audio track. It's not a series of flashcards. The video format is non-negotiable because it requires synchronized multisensory input.
And why is that synchronization so critical for foundational memory?
Well, when you present information through multiple synchronized pathways, the auditory system hears the word, the visual system sees the numeral, and it also sees the quantity. You significantly increase the odds of encoding that information into long-term memory.
So it's more than just surface level.
It moves way beyond that. Think about your brain processing sequential input versus simultaneous input.
Yeah.
If you hear the number first and then look at the visual, your brain has two separate little tasks. With a video, the concept, the sound, and the visual representation all hit the memory center at the same time.
Creating stronger neural
pathways, exactly. Creating stronger neural pathways. The format isn't just decoration, it's a core piece of the learning architecture. It ensures robust retention in that extremely short time frame.
So the time limit forces efficiency, and the video format ensures that efficient delivery is maximally retained. It all locks together.
It does.
Okay, let's move to the 3 specific required components, what we're calling the pillars of effective learning, because these dictate exactly what has to happen inside that 60 seconds.
Right.
We have, number 1, clear pronunciation, 2, counting visuals, and 3, repetition time.
The holy trinity of this design.
Let's focus on pillar A, clear pronunciation. Why elevate pronunciation to a mandatory non-negotiable requirement when, theoretically, a learner could just rely on the visual numerals?
Because, as we just established, that 1 to 20 range is riddled with auditory complexity. It's high-stakes auditory ambiguity.
The teen versus day distinction.
That's the big one. If the pronunciation is poor, the entire numerical magnitude gets confused. Think about saying 14 versus 40.
Okay.
For a non-native speaker, or even just in a noisy room, the only thing distinguishing those two is a subtle shift in stress and vowel length.
If you mishear that.
You've mixed up 14 and 40. And that's not just a language error. It's a 26-unit error in quantity. It has real-world consequences.
It's the difference between sending 19 emails to a client list of 90. I think we all probably know someone who's made that kind of mistake.
We do, exactly. So the clear pronunciation mandate is the solution to that specific problem. It ensures the first step of acquisition, the auditory vocabulary, is functionally perfect and immediately distinguishable. It prevents building a foundation on shaky ground.
That makes it feel much more functional than just aesthetic.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to pillar B, counting visuals. The source doesn't just ask for visuals, it specifically requires counting visuals. What's the deep analytical meaning behind that specific phrasing?
This is where we make sure the learner is grasping mathematical reality, not just memorizing sounds.
Okay.
Counting visuals bridge that gap between an abstract concept and a concrete quantity.
So the numeral 7 or the sound 7.
Right. They're meaningless without a connection to the real world. A counting visual means that when the word 7 is pronounced, the screen has to display 7 discrete, countable objects. 7 dots, 7 blocks, 7 fingers, whatever it is.
So you're drawing a very clear line between the numerical label and the actual substance of the number itself.
It's about teaching cardinality. That's the key term here.
Cardinality.
Cardinality is the fundamental understanding that a number represents a specific quantity. If the video only shows the numeral 7 next to the written word 7, the learner is just memorizing a symbol-to-sound translation.
They haven't learned what the number means.
Exactly. They're just learning to label things.
Like learning a phone number or a street address. Those are nominal numbers. They're just labels, not quantities.
Precisely. And foundational math requires cardinality. By requiring counting visuals, this blueprint ensures that the learner is internalizing the quantity associated with the name. And that's the only way they'll eventually be able to use these numbers for arithmetic or measurement or anything practical.
It's the grounding element.
It is the essential grounding element.
Which brings us to the final pillar, and this one involves the learner directly. The inclusion of repetition time. In an extremely tight 60-second format, building in dead air time where the learner is expected to speak. That seems really counterintuitive to the efficiency goal. So why is this active rehearsal time non-negotiable?
It's the moment of truth. That repetition time is not dead air, it is mandated production time.
Production time.
It forces the learning tool to move beyond passive display into active engagement. The designers of this understood that viewing something is not the same as internalizing it.
It's that shift from just consuming information to actively producing knowledge.
Yes. For rote skills like vocabulary and pronunciation, you have to engage muscle memory. The physical act of vocalizing the number, of retrieving that sound, linking it with the visual, and using your own voice, that is what shifts the information from short-term into robust, long-term memory.
So without it, it's just a show.
Without that built-in rehearsal time, the 60 seconds are just a fast show. With it, the 60 seconds become a high-intensity training session.
Wow.
And what's more, this element validates the entire pedagogical chain we just discussed. The learner needs the clear pronunciation to model, needs the counting visuals to grasp the meaning, and then needs the repetition time to cement that understanding into their own expressive capability.
So all three pillars they interlock.
They interlock perfectly to maximize retention within that constrained time frame.
So what does this all mean for you, the person listening, whether you're a learner or a creator of learning material?
Yeah.
We've seen that a deceptively simple task, teaching the first 20 numbers, required this incredibly rigorous interlock blueprint. The time constraint forces efficiency. The video format demands multi-sensory input. And the three pillars, pronunciation, counting visuals, and repetition, ensure that everything, from linguistic exceptions to the core mathematical meaning, is mastered actively.
The takeaway really is that foundational knowledge just cannot tolerate ambiguity or clutter or passivity.
Yeah.
The source material outlines the necessary structure, these non-negotiable building blocks that have to be present for a learner to gain a truly solid numerical foundation. You try to skip these steps or, dilute the focus, the entire structure of subsequent learning just becomes fragile.
But when the blueprint is followed,
You get a shortcut to confidence. Real confidence, because the foundation is solid.
and that leads us to a final thought for you to carry forward from this deep dive. If teaching the first 20 numbers requires this kind of relentless rigor, this structural analysis of linguistic pitfalls, and this multi-sensory integration, all mandated to fit inside just 60 seconds,
Yeah.
then what does that imply about the complexity of the design blueprint you need when attempting to learn or teach truly abstract concepts?
That's the question.
Think about things like algebraic variables or complex scientific notation or the nuances of geopolitical theory. If basic counting requires this much structure, imagine the rigor needed for anything more advanced. You should demand that same level of precision and distillation in all of your learning materials.